Hello, welcome to another
Hi.
episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode.
Hi. Welcome to another episode of the Juan of Words podcast. My name is Angelica Casares.
And I'm Juan Alanis.
All right.
And it's done. It's official. Like
What's official?
last time we came on here, we were talking about how we wanted January 20th to come and go, and for things to just happen. And it's done. It's over with. We're like, it's past us. It's behind us. So I just wanted to say it's done. This show is being recorded after the 20th of January. So
Okay.
But this show is also brought to you by our sponsor, Comcast in Houston, who we are very happy to be working with, and we have a lot of exciting stuff planned with them in the next couple of months. So you'll hear more about that as we kind of get into that moving forward. But in the meantime, I just wanted to mention Comcast and also their X5 pods, which make our program possible by helping us to be able to upload faster, which is really important. So check them out if you have them in your area for internet service. So with that, how's your... how this month has kind of gone by pretty fast, wouldn't you think, that for the first month of the year?
Has it?
I was on a call.
23rd.
I was on a call yesterday, and somebody was saying like, "Oh, these first 22 days have all been definitely busy." So I was like, "Oh yeah, it has been 22 days of January." So it is already kind of the first, we're heading into 21, and we're already like almost at the end of the first month. So that's kind of. I know I always make reference to time. I don't know.
Every time we come on the podcast, it's the same thing over and over. It's always time. It's at the end of the year. Can you believe it's already November? Oh my God, Halloween passed. Oh, Christmas. Oh, New Year. I'm like, what? Yes, that's what happens.
I know. I realize that.
Like, it's the weekend already.
I always get so excited by time. Like, it's Monday. It's Tuesday.
I understand, but time happens for everybody.
Yeah, I know. Anyway.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to tease you that much, but yeah, every time.
No, but I realize that I'm saying that myself too. So I'm like, but no, like, so before we get started, did you want to touch on anything before we kind of jump in?
No, I don't have anything at the top of mind today.
Oh, okay, good.
Good. Shut up as I speak.
No, so this week I was kind of eavesdropping on a conversation online,
Okay.
and it made me think about the topic that was being discussed, because it was something that I've heard before, but that I wasn't too familiar with. And I actually had to go do a little bit of I wouldn't say research, because I didn't really dig too deep into it. I think when you do research, you kind of dig in a little bit, and I kind of just do like a cursory search.
Where you just look at the headlines?
Well, I go and I read stuff, but I don't go like
Depth.
I don't go I don't go search for links. I'll just go and I'll look to see what the top couple of links say, and then I was like, okay, I think I have kind of a grasp of what they're talking about or what we're talking about here, and then I leave it at that.
Okay.
So, like last time when you were making fun of me because I pulled up the website Goop, and you thought it was funny
Because you didn't...
because I didn't know, I hadn't never heard of the website Goop, and so I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then after the show, you told me, you're like, oh yeah, Goop is this, and then
Gwyneth Paltrow's site.
that I guess sometimes is like gets made fun of.
It has lately because of the things that they sell and the kind of articles they write. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Because when we were recording, you didn't want to tell me. I was like, maybe it's something really bad.
No, it's not that bad, but it is. She's a questionable source.
Yeah. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. But no, the conversation, to go back to what I was talking about. So the conversation that I was kind of eavesdropping on was about doing it for the culture. Like somebody was talking about doing it for the culture, and
phrasing it for the culture,
like the expression, doing it for the culture.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, like, what does that mean? Like, I was like, I think I know what it means, but I don't know if I know what it means. In reality, I've never really thought,
but I don't think.
I was like, I mean, like in that moment when I first heard it, I was like, well, yeah, I guess it's for the pride of the culture. Like you're doing something to represent your culture.
Okay.
I was like, so is that what it means? But I went and I did a little bit of digging. And what I actually, like one of the things that I found
Okay.
So let me give you my source. So and it's not Goop. So
Okay.
there was this. So there was this interview in.
Oh my God! Did I just give you my goofy lap?
Yeah.
Laugh.
So there was this interview in 2018 with the radio station Hot 97, which back then was billed as the number one hip hop radio station in the New York City area. And so the person that was interviewing the DJs from the radio station asked them specifically, what do you mean what does it mean when people say that they're doing it for the culture? And
what was their response?
Their response says, not doing it because you want to get famous or get rich, but doing it to forward the art. In this case, they were talking about hip hop.
Okay.
So they were saying forwarding to, I guess, doing whatever it is that you're doing for the culture to advance the art of hip hop or the art of whatever.
Okay.
Now, the conversation that I was eavesdropping in happened to be all Latinos, and some of them were artists, some of them were musicians, and they were talking about doing it for the culture too. But I don't think they were talking necessarily about hip hop.
So what were they talking about?
They were just talking about doing things for the culture in terms of like not, I guess not selling out.
Not selling out. Can you give me an example so I can better understand what you mean?
So I guess to me, what I understood from it was like, I guess if you're a musician and you're doing your music and you're creating like music that represents your culture, that represents your community, maybe not only your ethnic identity, but like you're doing it to represent the place that you grew up in. So say you grew up in Houston, you grew up in this neighborhood. Like if you were a rapper and you were like rapping about this neighborhood, that you would that first and foremost kind of that would be like raising the profile of your community would be like first and foremost. So if you get like brands that come and offer you like thousands of dollars to work with them to make like commercials about their products, that unless it was really elevating your community also or serving the purpose of your like moving your art forward also, that you wouldn't necessarily take it on.
So it like not selling out.
Yeah, and I guess if you did do it, if you did take the ad deals and you did start doing that and you start doing it more and more, that you could be considered a sellout because you were then I guess you were almost like selling out.
All right, homie, I'm gonna have to do. Let me look up exactly.
Like you were trading off your main purpose. Like you were no longer 100% fully dedicated to just creating your own art, but you were now like taking some part of that, a certain percentage, whether it was 20% of your effort, 30%, 50% of your effort, you were pulling back from just creating art to now creating art for a specific, with a specific purpose, with a corporate side to it. So in that case, then you're like selling out a little bit.
So do it for the culture. Urban Dictionary. Do it for the culture is usually a statement requesting that someone carry out a specific action for benefit of their shared culture. Used mostly in regards to pop culture and can be used in a VAR. I don't know what that even means. Background info. The term grew in popularity when the Mingos claimed other rappers weren't giving them credit for their rap flow, calling those individuals culture vultures, basically meaning they use the Migos flow without giving them their proper credit. Furthermore, these individuals are assumed to have used the flow to benefit themselves, not the culture.
So I guess it could be applied to a lot of things, and so that's one of the things that they were saying, that at the beginning, I'm talking about the DJs. So at the beginning, the DJs that were interviewed, they said at the beginning it was all about the hip hop culture. So there was a lot of that. It was really about elevating the community through the music. But then at some point, like I guess you could say like a lot of the rap, now in videos you see commercials, like you see where they place products inside of videos, and like a lot of it is focused around can be focused around a specific brand.
So I guess if you're in the position to do it for the culture, it's basically means I guess what it's basically saying is that if you're in the position to if you have the choice of advancing yourself or advancing the culture, that you do it for the culture, even if you don't benefit from it.
Yeah.
That's what's doing it for the culture.
Yeah, I think that it's not about, like, I guess it's not about me as an artist. It's about what this does for the culture.
Okay, so then when you heard it where?
So I heard it on Clubhouse, and I was a conversation.
The app Clubhouse.
On the app Clubhouse.
And there was a discussion about doing it for the culture.
Yeah, somebody
and
mentioned...
in terms of Hispanic, what did that mean?
So somebody was mentioning that, like, a website, and I'll mention it, and I like that, but they were talking about the website Remezcla, and they were saying that at one point that Remezcla was a website that was really, all the content that they put out there was all about featuring the Latino culture, like really positively, like putting a lot of articles and creative content out there that was about, the Latino culture,
where they were resharing, reposting artists.
Right. And then at some point, when they started like getting more sponsors, and they started having funnels just to brand
sponsors, or as they were growing, and because they were growing, they were getting more recognition, and with recognition comes sponsorship opportunities. Is this what was happening?
Well, sponsorships and revenue. So think like
revenue. Okay, I can understand that.
Think like a newspaper. Like they were an online magazine. So when they started bringing in revenue,
so they were having different means of revenue. Okay,
part of that revenue comes with like certain like expectations that you're not, you're also going to feature specific artists, or you're also going to help help us to promote a specific campaign or program, and maybe there's a specific musician tied into
that's with everything. That's with everything.
So you're no longer featuring only the artists.
Okay, so but here's the idea. That's with everything. As soon as you get a sponsor, and as soon as you get somebody who starts helping you and paying you to do what you're already doing, it gets really tricky, because they're asking for, sometimes they can be very specific, and they ask for very specific things. They're like, we're going to give you this X, Y, and Z money, whether $25,000, and when the amount starts to get bigger, the expectations fall on you, and they fall harder. We're doing this campaign, and this is what we're doing, and this is what's expected out of you to be part of our like campaign, or part of what we're paying you.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that are negotiated that, when you're negotiating a contract, I mean, that I think it's different when you're just starting out, and maybe you're an artist or whatever, a creative. You don't even have to be an artist, but you're just a creative, and you're starting out, and you're just doing something because you enjoy it. Yeah. And so when you get a contract, or when somebody offers you a contract, and then you start negotiating, there you can say like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like, I guess that's not so bad if I do this. Yeah. Or it's not so bad if I add that. Correct. It's not so bad if blah, blah, blah. So then eventually, like that may shift maybe it shifts the way how people perceive you may shift because of the things that you're doing. Okay. Not necessarily that you're doing them with the intent that you no longer care about the culture.
Yeah, but your focus does tend to change.
It shifts a little bit.
It shifts sometimes depending on who's giving you the money and what their expectations are. And sometimes if you're not used to being offered that money, or if you're trying to grow that brand and that business, and you want it to be viable, right? I guess you want it to make income, so you can provide it more time and effort, and you hire on people to give it more time and effort. And this is how you start to reach goals that you essentially like set out to do. But so in reference to Remezcla, what was, I guess, the problem?
The problem was that they started taking out the artists that they had featured before, the musicians in this case. Okay. They stopped featuring them as prominently because they were featuring other artists that were from record labels that were connected to their sponsors or to their clients.
Okay. So it was no longer like underground artists. It was no longer like up and rising artists. Right. Now it was people who had managements, who had labels behind them.
So the people that had been featured more prominently before, and then noticed that they were no longer being featured the same way, obviously they felt a certain way about it, and they were like, hey, like, now they're what happened? Why are they no longer featuring us? Why are they featuring that artist that's connected to this label because they're connected to a brand?
But I've always had, for me, I've seen I've had issues with things like this before with other means and manners. Rising artists aren't really rising artists, right? They're not being discovered. They're already discovered. They already have quote unquote numbers on social, on Instagram. They already have clout, and so other brands are using their clout, to draw in their audience to come in. They're not really using them as like they're not really not featuring them, so to say. You know what I mean? They've been on the scene, and now they have a little bit of management. Somebody has basically injected some money behind them, and they have some form of management, whether that's management through their social, whether that's help, whether they have like a new remix engineer, whether they have somebody who's helping them with video and audio, and they're, you know what I mean? So they've been injected with money, and now they have something that somebody else wants to utilize and use. And so rising artists aren't really rising artists anymore. It's not somebody homegrown, in their backyard, in their bedroom type of situation. You know what I mean? So I guess I see that I can see both sides of things.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was a really interesting conversation, because I could see both sides when they were talking.
It's easy to call an organization like Remezcla a sellout.
Yeah.
It's easy because it's multiple individuals. But when do you start calling it a sellout? How do you start calling them a sellout? What's the definition at that point? Because at this point, anybody can be considered a sellout if we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
so. Then what?
That's why I think to me it was I when I was listening to the conversation that I was listening to, I felt like I could see I could agree with the arguments that people were making on one side, and I could agree with the arguments people were making on the other side. And what I kind of walked away with is it's not that cut and dry. There's first of all, I think that
in Urban Dictionary that somebody said,
I think first of all, there's a, you were saying, if you're an artist that you're starting out from the bottom, you're starting out, you don't really have a lot of resources, and so this is a way for you to make a living. You're looking to make a living off of this. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to say, you know what, I'm not gonna take any deals with anybody because I love my music so much, and I'm just not gonna do that. Sometimes you need to make some money off of the thing that is your art.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be on the backs of somebody else when you're not giving them credit with credit's due.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I see the both sides of things. I see it. You can grow your brand and you can grow what you're doing without giving credit where the credit is at. You can't. So yeah, Kendrick, somebody, I guess during that interview, Kendrick said, "This is a crazy world we're living in, man. I feel like I got to say something. Blank ain't sitting right with me. Ain't sitting right with me." And then Quavo said, Quavo.
It's the Amigos guys. Not.
Yeah, said, "I feel you, bruh. Do it for the culture."
Back up on your bullshit, don't belong to me. You acting all sleazy, I don't like what I see. I got all the game, don't get fucked in your brain. I can do you worse than you ever did me first.
Hey, this is Angelica Casares.
And this is Juan Alanis.
Thank you so much for joining us on season 2 of Juana Words Podcast. You can find us on
Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Stitcher, Spotify, and other platforms. Also on our website at juanawords.com. And we hope you enjoyed the episode that you're listening to right now.
And if you enjoyed it, you can leave us a review and a thumbs up. Especially on the Apple platform, the higher ratings and the reviews we get, the more listeners we actually can be found by.
Yeah.
So
it really does help us. So we really would appreciate it, a rating or a review on Apple Podcast. And until next time, thank you.
See you then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Back up on my piece shit, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm really different, don't gotta show you I'm like that. Like the baby, I'm cut like that.
Going back to what I was trying to say originally was that you can't take from here and then give it a little sprinkle over here and then pretend like this didn't come from over here. You know what I'm saying? You can't. For example, Texas can't come on here and be like, we made an enchilada out of mole and we call it chimole. That goddamn well that mole is Mexican and you just happen to wrap it in the tortilla. That's not the way this works. You got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I think I guess where I get a little bit I want to think more on the artist side, like where I'm like, well, but I feel that sometimes people do need to make money, so sometimes they do need to do things that are going to be considered them selling out, and it's not necessarily that they're selling out, but it may just be that's what works for them in what they're trying to pursue. And does that necessarily mean that it's bad? So like if an artist is creating music and they're not necessarily taking its original music that they're creating, if they choose to decide to sign a deal, and then all of a sudden they're like doing commercials, and they're like, they start their music starts to change.
Yeah.
Like, is that bad? Like, is that necessarily bad? Because if it's being done with the intent, say, for that artist to like blow up, to get a bigger audience, to get to a bigger stage, when they get to that bigger stage, they still are going to be able to use their voice. They're still going to be a representative of the culture. So, is it necessarily bad that they took those deals early on, or they shifted their music, that their music changed, or their purpose might have changed a little bit? Is that necessarily a bad thing?
Here's the thing. I think that I think the problem lies with fame and money. Is how comfortable are we with the way somebody rose to fame? How comfortable are we with how somebody made that money? And they don't have to go hand in hand. We've known people who have gone very famous, and are completely not rich. But they have the clout, they have the name recognition. And then we know people in the back end who make money and they're not famous, but yet they can be, in terms of like, somebody from like Europe goes into Mexico and they see like a hat factory, and they take it and they upsell it for three times its price. Do we blame the European person for coming to Mexico? Or do we just see a missed opportunity from a Mexican person to go to Europe to try to sell this and make the money and keep the money there, quote unquote, keep the money there, right? Because they're being manufactured somewhere else. So, like, where does your comfortability like lie?
Yeah, and I think that's like that. Like, is more like, I guess the culture vulture thing, I guess, is like what you would call like where you but I think that's more like you're taking from a community that obviously can't compete on the same level that you are. Correct. And you're taking advantage because you think that you're going to be able to, like, they're not going to be able to stop you. Like, they're not going to be able to do anything again.
You know what this kind of sounds like to me? So, and I don't mean to bring it up here, but I'm going to anyway. Part of the series that I do on Crafty Thrifter, which is called the Latina Leadership Series, on there, I'm a huge advocate of what is necessary and what is needed to get Latinas to get into positions to, one, make money, to be able to have that, to be able to grow that clout so they can help other Latinas. Right. And so part of their success, and this has been talked about often, is that in terms of like what is it called, mentors and sponsorships. Somebody has to be willing to give you that time. One, they're not going to get paid for it. Two, they probably will, if you surpass them, they have to be comfortable with you being more successful than them. How comfortable are you with them being more successful than you, rising to, I guess, being in the position that you wanted to be in, but now this person that you helped has been there, has gotten there. And so, but I hear it along the same lines of like that, right? It's like, yeah, okay. Here's the thing. Had I given it credit where credit is due, is there a guarantee that is going to be successful? But I mean, regardless of whether it's successful or not, you should do it anyway. But I don't think you shouldn't be blamed for the nuances that come with it, like going well and right somewhere else, as opposed to it. You know what I mean?
So yeah, for me, I think I understand what you're saying.
Maybe I'm completely wrong. Fix me if I'm not. Fix me.
Fix me.
Tell me if you think differently. Like, let your girl know.
So here's where I land on this.
Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, so here's where I land on this. I feel like it's an individual choice for you to do things, for you to decide to do things however you want to when it comes to your career, when it comes to your art, when it comes to you, whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're not hurting other people. Like if you're coming into if you're the Kardashians and you're taking over somebody's culture and you're like profiting it from it, like, yeah, I think that's a little bit more like that that's easier to call out and identify and be like, yeah, that's not cool. But I think if you're doing something and you're making the conscious decision to do your art, you're okay with bending a little bit because you know that that's going to help you get to a bigger stage. And once you're it's not that you've stopped supporting your community at any point. You're still supporting your community in different ways. And when you get to that bigger stage, you're still going to be a voice and an advocate for your community. I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I can see why people would criticize it, but at the end of the day, they're not giving you the contracts. Are they? It's not up to them to decide for you what you can and can't do as an individual.
I mean, but there's still wrongness there, kind of place. So what is it? Where's the solution then? Like if we're not gonna like.
Well, there's no solution. I think that it's like
there is no solution.
I don't think that. I mean, people can call you out. Like people should have the freedom to call you out. But
no, before even the call out, like what can be the solution? Like what can we possibly do, or what can take place within the culture, within those who are familiar with what's happening, or who have skin in the game to be like, this is for. Like, do we seek out the artists do we pay attention more to like indie artists? Do we pay attention more to like those who are rising to fame? Or do we question every song that like artists or painters or whatever it may be? Do we question them of their music first? Before we're like, so what inspired you? Before we all get all hyped on your song, what inspired you to make this music? Like, let us know. Did you hear so-and-so? Was that poetry? Part of what you sounded like poetry that came from so-and-so. Was that it?
But I think that like art is like something that's continuously evolving. So like people are constantly taking from something that's already been done and recreating it in their own way. So it's not necessarily that just because you're like maybe you're repurposing something doesn't mean that you're necessarily stealing from somebody. It may just be that you're recreating something or you're doing something in a different way. But I mean, I think that what I was saying is like I think that it's a personal choice. But when you make that personal choice and you know that you're going to get criticism, then don't be surprised when you start getting the criticism because that you consciously made that choice. So you kind of know what comes with the territory.
But a lot of people, and I am guilty of this too, is that when you're part of society and you're part of social now online, you unbiasedly do things that you like. You know what I mean? Like you end up saying something that you heard somewhere or read somewhere and not even sure where you read it or heard it or what, and you do something like you add to it, not knowing.
Yeah.
And so I remember somebody saying in the past, like, what you think is original is no longer original. Yeah. Things have been done over and over again. There's just different phrases of it. They're just different things of it. So then what, you know what I mean? So like, you're like, okay, yeah, but this was very specific, right? So you start to think like, okay, well, yeah, that's a new song, but the sequence of the notes and the way you sang it sound very much like this. Yeah. Or that shirt that you posted, or that shirt that you're selling looks a lot like this.
Right. And then you have to be, but then I think then also you have to be the same way you have to be open to criticism, or like understand that you may get some. You also kind of have to be open to like, okay, well, is there anything?
Well, I think
are there any
if
truths,
you're online,
are there any truths to that criticism that I'm getting? Is like if I'm starting to get maybe not just like if you get one comment, but then you get 2 comments, 3 comments, 5 comments, and it's a repetitive. You see a trend and it's repetitive. Then you really have you really have to kind of take a step back and really take a look and like, well, is there something that I'm doing that I should change, or is there like why are people saying this?
I think that well, if that's the case, honestly, Juan, I think that that's the case for anybody who has like any social platform at all.
Exactly.
Open yourself to criticism. Like if you open, this is
the digital age. This is what I'm saying.
If you open Angie.com.net, right, and I follow nobody, and I have just my family and friends, and I post on there every once in a while. That's it. Like you posted, and you're fine and okay with you being judged, and you're okay with people attacking you.
Well, like think of
that makes no sense. Because our kids are growing up with the digital age, and so we're making them susceptible to just like, you get like, oh, it's your fault for opening up an account, and that's why people bully you because you want to be part of the rest of the world.
Oh wait, you went somewhere else.
I did go somewhere else. I did. I totally went somewhere completely separate. But
I think that's a different thing.
That's a whole different topic.
I don't know that I can talk to that because I don't think I grasped the fullness of what you said.
I know my mind obviously went a different direction.
But what I will say is like I think of like the OnlyFans. Like a lot of people have OnlyFans pages, and that's your choice to have an OnlyFans if you want to have an OnlyFans. Like I don't like how am I gonna like. What am I gonna say about that? Like, it's not up. I'm not paying your bills. I'm not the one. Like, so how can I criticize you for having an OnlyFans?
What are you looking at me for?
No, I'm not. I'm just
Are we gonna announce my OnlyFans page?
No, but I think it's. If not you, then who?
If not you, then who? Follow me on OnlyFans. You know what? That's actually a really good name. Somebody probably already has it.
Oh my god!
If you don't take it. I'm gonna go get it, even though I don't use it.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know if I was serious or not. That was totally off key. Okay, go ahead, Juan. Go ahead.
No, but I mean, I think like not that I'm like saying like, oh yeah, like I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to like say that OnlyFans is the greatest thing ever, and I'm not trying to vilify it either. But I'm saying is like this is the society that we live in. I mean, those things. But
we don't have just because we live in it doesn't mean we have to accept it.
No, I'm not saying that we have to accept it, but those things are out there, and you can't like just just because they're out there doesn't mean that, and you necessarily don't happen to agree with them doesn't mean that that everybody who does that is wrong. So I guess what I'm saying is like in that conversation, the initial conversation, like I think we veered off a little bit from what where we started. But
you're
like
totally thinking about that, aren't you?
What? OnlyFans?
Yeah, you can. But you're trying to swerve. You're like trying to get back into the conversation. You can't seem to find yourself there.
Yeah, I'm like okay, because you said you're gonna open an OnlyFans. I was like okay.
Juan is like trying to like put like a list down, check OnlyFans, make sure Angelica doesn't have an OnlyFans. I'm sorry. Look, Juan, if I do, you'll be the first to know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. No, but
I think going back to what we were talking about. I mean, I think that when it comes to the whether or not you're a sellout or whether or not like you're doing things that you're doing things for the culture or not. I mean, I think there are a lot of gray areas in that. I don't think it necessarily is one or the other. And to me, like I feel like I've worked with brands and I've taken I've done a lot of deals with brands, and I don't feel like I'm a sellout. Like I don't feel like I've sold out. Like I feel like there could have been times where people would have considered me a sellout because I did specific things with brands, but at the end of the day, those were steps that helped me get to other places.
Can I be honest?
Right.
I feel like we've loved what we've been doing for so long, right? And we've talked about this time and time again here, right? But I think we haven't been taking ourselves serious, even though we've made quote unquote more money in the past, even though we've done a lot more in the past, we haven't been really taking ourselves serious until maybe the last 3 years. And that I think that's been on purpose. I think that's come with age. I think that's come with a little bit more maturity. I think that's come with like the sustainability of it all. That's come with is that worth the money? Like I said, even though have made a lot more money in the past, it's not worth the money a lot of the times. It stopped becoming fun. Right, we were having a lot of fun with this, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we were like, oh my god, they were throwing money at us. No, definitely not. But it was a lot more hard work for something that I didn't even feel like sometimes I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think,
and I was like, this doesn't feel like what's his name said. It just don't sit right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like. It was probably also the fact that we were learning, and so we weren't necessarily doing like, oh yeah, we're only doing the projects that we want to do. We were kind of just like, oh, you want to give us money, yeah, we'll do it. And so I could see like how that could be like, people could be like, why are you doing?
Do you remember?
Why are you talking about like that when you've never talked about?
But do you remember
like
some of the requests that we were getting?
Yeah.
Like some of the requests we were getting like, oh, so you're Hispanic and you're like Mexican. Talk about your Mexican culture in addition with this.
Yeah.
And it was like, but it has nothing to do with my Mexican culture.
So when I make chilaquiles, I think about my grandma. And like,
yeah, no, totally. Like I think one of them was like,
and it's like, no, I just like chilaquiles. I don't think about my grandma when I make chilaquiles.
I'm just a fat girl who likes chilaquiles, right? My grandma didn't make chilaquiles. Like I could talk to you about, chasing a chicken in the ranch, but it has nothing to do with, it has nothing to do with, I don't know, X, Y, and Z drink. Yeah. It has nothing to do with this. But I felt like at some point it was forced.
But yeah, and I agree with you. But I can't. Did I tell you? I told you before that I got called out as a sellout once.
Oh, you did?
Online.
I don't remember this.
And
for what?
Spill the tea. Because I was doing a lot of brand work. Like I started working with a lot of brands, and so there was another page that was similar to mine, but they didn't do any brand work at all. It was much more like, I guess, more of an activist page.
Okay.
And I followed them. And then they blocked me from following them.
Oh shit!
And, it was a page that, like, I don't know if they're still out there.
You want to say it on here?
I don't want to know. I don't want to call them out. But they blocked me from following their page. And then I was like, what? And so I asked. I was like, was I blocked from your page? And they called me a sellout. And I was like,
holy shit!
I was like, really? And I was like, how the hell am I a sellout? Because I'm working with brands. And so maybe it's a little bit of like me, like I'm being still, todavía me duele, pero no.
Mira nomás. ¿Te arde un poquito?
Me arde un poquito, but no, but and that's why I say, like, for me, like, even though we did do things that maybe could have been like, I could see where people would be like, really, that's what they're talking about? They're talking about their culture.
Yeah, but do you stop doing things because you're scared?
Tamales.
But do you stop doing things because you're scared?
But at the same time,
can't you learn from them?
Yeah, like you can learn from them, and at the same time,
some people are more willing to call you out and willing to like drag you through the mud as opposed to like having a conversation with you and explaining to you like why they think it's wrong.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's like there is a gray area, so you could.
For fuck's sake, man! Not all of us are born with like knowing everything. Neither were you.
It would have been a different conversation to actually say, look, here's what where we're coming from, or blah blah blah. Not necessarily like just for me, but like I think like. It's different when you like can have a dialogue as opposed to just be like, oh, you know what, they're no longer cool because they're doing this.
But ain't that a man? When I hear things like this, and especially when they're done to us, I get menchilo un poquito. And like, look, you ain't gotta be like that.
I never talked about it.
You can't close the doors. You can't close the doors to conversation because you were bothered by it. Like if you're gonna be in the game too, you got to be willing to open up. You got to be susceptible to having the conversation. Also, if you think you have information that maybe some of us don't, but you're willing to just shut people out and not have a conversation, then how are you any better?
But to me, like I didn't call them out, and I never said anything about it because I'm like, I understood where.
I'm sorry, Juan. I'm frustrated.
I understood where they were coming from. Like I could see where they were coming from, but I didn't agree with them. But at the same time, I was like, I don't have time to sit here and like go back and forth about something so petty, like that doesn't really, like, I know what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it.
No, Juan, I understand that, and for the means of the internet, I think you are top like 10-20% of the people who are on the internet who have that thick skin. You are. Yeah, you yourself are, and I know you are.
Yeah, right? I just started doing TikTok, and I'm like getting like comments from people that are calling me stupid and like.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing.
Stuff and it doesn't bother me. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
but here's the thing. You have thick skin and you don't need anybody to defend you. You don't need anybody to be on your side, and you're fine with that. But the thing is that online, not everybody is you. Not everybody has that thick skin. And how is it that how are we expecting people to be online and grow online, and we're willing to talk and have conversations when you're not willing to open up to conversations?
Well, that's the thing. And I hate to mention this here because I don't really like the expression. I know you hate it, but I know even in the conversation that they were having, that I was eavesdropping on it, that I mentioned at the beginning, somebody mentioned the crabs in a bucket thing, where it's like,
just shut. I'm off. I'm getting off. Move.
What the hell?
No, I'm just kidding with you. I'm just playing with you. Because I hate that story.
And I don't like that. I don't like the expression, but I do,
because it's not true.
Because I guess the concept behind it is that nobody wants that. I guess as Latinos, we don't want to see each other progress.
That's not true.
And so that we try to pull each other down.
No,
and I don't
no,
necessarily.
No.
I don't think that's it. I think that maybe part of it is that we have so few examples of what success looks like.
Okay.
That we're so quick to criticize when success looks a certain way that we're not used to, or like, and not even success, but when the path starts to veer away from what we're used to, then I think it's easier to criticize, or it I don't know, like I feel like I don't know, and maybe that's not it, but I feel like it's less about us as Latinos not wanting each other to progress, because I think we do want each other to progress. Like obviously, like if somebody else does good, then that's good for the entire community.
Yes.
So I don't think that we're trying to pull each other down, but I think sometimes it's just like we're not having the conversations, we're not having the dialogue, you said.
Honestly, Juan, I don't care. So there is a lot of conversation when it comes to like Latinos, and there's a lot of varieties and differences between all of us. Whether we're Caribbean, whether some of us are South American, Central American, born and raised in the United States, and we have similarities, and some of us don't, and some of us completely, like even within Mexican Americans, like first generation versus like somebody who like their parents lived here like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, right? Like even then we clash. Like it doesn't even matter our skin color, just simply because your family was here 10 generations ago and I'm first generation. Like we immediately can clash on topics and situations. But with all the differences, and I see this with a lot of Hispanics, with a lot of Latinos, as soon as we get somebody in, like their foot in, everybody applauds. Everybody is like, yes, whoever it was that got in, we got in. We got in, we can do more, we're going to get more. I don't care if it's blue-eyed, blonde hair, Mexicana from like, you know what I'm saying? I don't care. Look, you speak my language, you understand my culture, but slightly, maybe a little bit, but you're in. You got a last name that sounds like a surname that sounds exactly like mine. Like you're in. Like I know that as soon as Hispanics, Latinos get in, they're more likely to open up doors for the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Whatever it may be, you know what I'm saying? And so when they get in, like I feel this pride and joy.
So like
even though my conversations stimulate, like if you listen to my Latina leadership series, I go around a lot of like, you know how there isn't enough. Go listen to it, and you'll hear sometimes my topics and my conversations, and where I found the disparities in some situations. But regardless of all of putting all of that aside, it still matters. Like when Latinas get in, because hey, we're in, and I know by my experiences in the past, every single time, or Latinos, they open up the doors for the rest of us. Mm-hmm. So I don't get the whole crabs in a bucket thing. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I don't like it either. Like I don't think it's true. I think it's a myth, mm-hmm. And I think it's that we don't have enough examples to show all the different ways that you can, like, you know, get to you can get to the same place in so many different directions. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand the concept of limiting to say that there's only one way or there should only be 2 or 3 ways. But like, you know, you reference, like, you know, that when somebody gets there to that level, then you can all feel a sense of pride. And I think like this week, like when even in the inauguration, like when Jennifer Lopez was on the stage and she said something in Spanish, and she
sung part of the song in Spanish.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people identify, like a lot of Latinos I saw online, you know, were taking ownership of that. Like, like that was really cool, you know, that you know, she said that, and like she was representing the Latino community, because let's be honest, there weren't really a lot of Latinos up there besides her and Sotomayor, so there weren't really a lot of Latinos on that stage. So, you know, I don't see them
up there. It made a big difference.
Yeah, and I think that you can criticize J-Lo a lot, and like the things that she's done over her career, to be like, oh, she did this, she did that, like you can criticize her a lot, but at the end of the day, she's on that bigger stage, and she's like, you know, now she's representing a community on a bigger stage, our Latino community, and I think there's a sense of ownership there. So I don't think that there's that's why I say, like, it's so like it's such a gray area, and I think at the end of the day, like for me, it's like it shouldn't be that black and white. Like when we think about like you know, how people are choosing their path. Yeah. So I just wanted to have the conversation here because I was like, I wanted to get your take on it, and I want to open it up to like just hear what other people have to say, because I think that maybe a lot of people are kind of in the middle, like you know, we are, where they're like not necessarily. I don't necessarily feel so strongly about it this way or that way. Like I'm kind of in the middle. I can kind of see both sides, and I think that's okay. Like I think that probably more people than not are in the middle.
Yeah, I can see how, depending on exactly how you phrase and take it, and certain situations trigger, like me, certain situations trigger others in certain ways, and so they agree with it, depending on what direction you come. Yeah, or disagree.
How you present it. Yeah, how you make your arguments. Yeah, it's like a good lawyer. You make a good argument and you convince everybody in the room.
yeah. When the guy murdered, and he was like, "No, he can't. He couldn't have."
It was self-defense. Like the glove didn't fit. It didn't fit.
Look, there's still. Look, I don't know. That's Juan. Don't tell me that. Stop pulling on this. Oh. Don't. I don't know. I know nothing. But yeah, no, you're right. Like it does. It depends on how you make the argument. Yeah. And like I said, I can see both sides. Like, and I totally agree. And I totally agree with the references to like do it for the culture when it comes to like music and art. And if you know you're taking from places, give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and I think I do like the expression. I do like the expression itself, doing it for the culture, because I think that like that's, if we can do it for the culture and we know we're doing it, but it like, let's not, like, why do we have to be so judgmental about how you do it for the culture? Like maybe I do it for the culture differently.
How do you do it?
By being a sellout, apparently.
Fucking Juan. Okay. Oh my God.
All right, guys. With that, I think that's a good stopping point. So let's say thank you to our sponsor once again, Comcast in Houston that we work with, but Comcast Xfinity wherever you're located. Overall, you find their services and look them up. And then we do want to remind you, if you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend. Let them know about this podcast.
Share it with your homie. Share it with your girl. Yeah. Share it with your Juan said friend, your cousin, your sister, your wife, your cat. Like, hey, let one listen. If they don't understand our language, it's perfectly fine. But if you do like it and you are interested in the topics that we're having and the topics that we're giving, I'd like to invite you to please join Apple Podcasts and give us a rate or review. The more ratings we get, the better ratings we get, the more audience it actually gets pushed to. We would love to have more listeners. This is a platform for us. It's brand new, and we're trying to expand and grow. And if you disagree with us, let us know why. Hey, Juan reads them, not me, because I'm the sensitive one. But let us know. Give us your opinion, rate us, all the great things. Yeah,
and then you can find us. For those of you that are listening, we do this on video also, so you can find that on YouTube Facebook. And on Facebook. Yeah. And you can go to juanofwords.com and you'll find this podcast and Angelica's podcast. If not you, then who? So you can always find everything there on juanofwords.com. But thank you for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you until next time. What? You always say, that's the way you always end. Until next time.
No, I say, and with that, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
You sucked at that.